Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Michael and Benjamin's podcast. I am joined today in the tiny room by a man who has been described as very much not Ben and very much the thinking woman's scrumpet. It's Shane. Say hello, Shane.
Hello, Michael. Being described as very much not Ben was the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Unfortunately, Shane, Ben has had an episode.
He has. Any listeners to last week's podcast may have noticed the very beginnings of a psychotic break. Yes. So Ben is in an asylum of sorts.
Ben,
minimum security.
I've called
not
you...
like Arkham. Not like Shutter Island. More like low walls and grass and...
Very good references there. You know which podcast you're on. Shane, very good intro there. What a segue. An unplanned segue, because we're going to start by talking about someone in an asylum.
Wow! As if we took 5 minutes to plan this.
We did, but we didn't plan that particular segue. Shane, have you been following the television series Legion?
I am halfway through the second episode.
Of the first season?
Of the second season.
Okay, that's not too bad. What are your feelings thus far, Shane?
The first episode was kind of confusing, and the second one is alright so far.
Yeah.
I mostly watch these things in the morning as I have breakfast.
Shane, we're actually going to... The season finale of Legion was on last week, and the opening 3 minutes of the season finale of Legion were best 3.5 minutes of television I have ever seen in my life. So much so, we're going to stop the podcast now for you to watch that, and then we'll react to it afterwards.
Okay, for those who missed it, because this is an audio medium, I nodded incredulously.
Yes, I don't think you believe me, but you will! And seamlessly we're back!
While it seems like only an instant has passed for those listening at home, my life has changed. That is an excellent season finale intro.
Shane, easily the most visually, audio-visually, other things stunning.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're trying to say is tune, but also tune for the eyes.
Yes, exactly. So obviously we're going to go spoilers, a little bit of spoilers here for Legion. And the best thing is, that's the wrap-up for the season. The whole rest of the episode is a setup for season 3.
Beautiful.
But they wrap up the entirety of season 2 in that 3-minute sequence. Maybe 4 minutes. But just unbelievable. The visuals, the song. Here's the thing, right? That's actually Dan Stevens singing.
Well, that's very impressive.
So impressive that I now hate him. A talented bastard.
I kind of hate the guys who got that greenlit. Whoever sat around and kind of did a storyboard for that and pitched it to somebody, and somebody believed in them that much, I'm a little jealous.
That is a very good point about that show in general, that it's amazing that television has reached a point where we can... Well, not we, where they can get away with things like that. That they're allowed that level of creativity on a television show.
Imagine trying to do that 5 years ago.
No way. Wouldn't happen. Especially...
Sorry, lads. Linear story, please.
Yeah, linear story. None of this animation. None of this... If it's Professor Xavier's son, we want a picture of a bald man as seen from behind with the head shape similar to Patrick Stewart.
Yes, that is exactly what we want.
But
what do you mean animation?
Yeah, what is this animation? But aside from, we can't play it obviously because the music will get copyrighted and we'll get taken down. But the whole season, you haven't seen the whole season, but it seems like in retrospect, the whole season of the show built towards that song.
Oh, excellent.
There's a subplot about Blue Eyes. The song is Behind Blue Eyes, Shane, by The Who, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I had a better singing voice, I'd try a rendition.
Nobody knows what it's like to be the bad man. Dan Stevens has a great singing voice, apparently. And the other guy's singing the same lyrics in Farsi.
Yes. Oh. I assume that wasn't just gibberish. I'd like to believe it wasn't just gibberish. I don't speak enough Farsi to know.
No.
So it could have been like My Name is Earl when the maid used to speak in Spanish and it was just random shit.
That was very good. It was actually usually addressed to the audience.
Yeah, there's spoilers and kind of...
Yeah.
The non-Spanish people at home aren't getting this.
What were we saying there about Legion?
Farsi.
Oh yeah, speaking Farsi. Then he was also... They did the thing, and the whole season built towards it. There's a one episode subplot about a character having blue eyes. There's another little subplot about why does green mean safety and red mean danger? Maybe it's the other way around.
Oh, nice.
Everything. He's out for vengeance for something that happened to his love. So my love is vengeance. It's the whole... I think they said, let's do this sequence and let's spend a 10-episode season building to this sequence.
Brilliant.
Even the fact that it's the 11th episode. What a weird number of episodes for a TV show.
And also to call it Chapter 10.
I know.
Brilliant.
Oh, everything about it was great.
Absolutely.
Worryingly, though, Shane, it seems like Legion has been shedding viewers in season 2. So a lot of people won't have seen that.
That is upsetting. Though, might be a victim of its own creativity there. Where something is that hard to follow, and like Legion isn't one of those things you can just watch over breakfast. You have to pay a bit more attention. So when the dog starts whining at you, you can't skip out for 3 or 4 minutes to let him go take a piss in the morning.
Is that a metaphor?
No, that's an actual personal story.
Go on. What are you going to
Just
say?
how I lose track of TV shows.
Okay,
that's why I'm not up to date on Legion.
Look, the whole season, because in retrospect, there were 4 or 5 episodes that felt like they're building towards something. And while they were on, it was a little bit, come on, let's get to the point. But I don't think I've ever been so happy with the payoff of something making me wait for that long before. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, so worth it. My favourite.
I was going to make a joke about your extended courtship with your lady friend.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. No, I have now.
You've done it.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's talk about something else. Shane, speaking of television shows that you haven't been keeping track of, what do you think about Cloak and Dagger?
I haven't been keeping track of this because I can't. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why I've been going to America on a weekly basis. The computer's not turned on. Shane, would you turn that on there? Thank you very much. Which is why I've been going to America. And Shane, thanks for reminding me that I've been in America, because I've just arrived back on a flight, obviously jet lagged.
Jet lag.
Yeah,
which ties in well with you saying you got 18 hours sleep the other night. That's jet lag for you.
That's Windows Defender. This is a professional podcast. I'm tired, Shane, because of hay fever.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, hay fever is no good.
And yard work. Imagine having hay fever and having to spend a day cutting hedges.
Is that a metaphor again?
No.
Just another story from your life.
Yeah.
So Shane, Cloak and Dagger, when it started, we were going to watch it every week and report back on it, much to Ben's chagrin, because he thought it was going to be horrible, like Inhumans, exactly. And it continues not being horrible.
Like, give me an example of something that's not horrible.
Yard work.
No, yard work is horrible. Only people who haven't done yard work think yard work isn't horrible.
What's not horrible? Do you remember the TV show? Every time I'm watching it, it feels like something I've seen, but not exactly. I can't put my finger on it. It has It's for becomers.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still not aimed at me, but the last episode was a very metaphysical, almost Legion-esque, non-linear memory episode.
Oh.
Yeah.
They can be hit and miss.
They can be hit and miss.
Anything that goes into a dreamscape or anything like that.
Yeah.
Mostly my dreams are... Well, I told you about a recent dream and I prefer not to repeat it.
That is not a podcast story, Shane.
Suffice it to say, it started like, a sexually explicit dream.
Yes.
And ended... not like a sexually explicit dream.
Like a nuisance.
But nobody ever puts that on screen for good reason.
I don't know. I think there might have been something like that, like a TV show where someone's having like a sexy dream and then the sex object in the dream says, now help me wash the dishes.
Yeah.
I think that might have happened. Anyway, look. Ben's main complaint about Cloak and Dagger last week, that it was a bit too American and a bit too on the nose.
It was hard to tell what Ben was on about last week. What with his rage.
Well, he had an episode. And the thing was, his point was kind of reinforced this week, because in the dream sequence, Tandy, the girl, they enter each other's minds because they have a special connection. Not in a sexually explicit way. They enter each other's minds.
Oh, a deeper connection.
Yes, and they see each other's history.
Wow, they got to that quick.
Yeah, 3 episodes.
3 episodes in?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. like that's 2 hours in before they
Okay.
find out each other's backstory. If it was a movie, it would be over by now.
True.
They would have been inside each other's minds in moments.
But that's different mediums. If it was a painting, it wouldn't have moved at all. You just have to infer things by the outer colouring. And sorry, I'm trying to do a Ben thing here and talk about themes. Mediums.
Motifs. Anyway, in the dream, when Tandy is in Tyrone's dream, mindscape, memoryscape.
Yeah.
She sees him being chased and lynched. Remember, he's a young black man being chased and lynched by the police, and the police are carrying flaming torches.
That doesn't sound like police at all. I don't like the portrayal of the police in this new TV show.
But the interesting thing is that a song is playing in the background, and it's some sort of a hippie hop song about America biting back. And I'd say they would have been much happier if they'd been able to play This Is America by Childish Gambino.
Oh, they really would have.
Yeah.
Would that have been out by the time they were making their TV show?
Don't think so. I don't think
somebody's sitting at home going, no!
Exactly, yeah. That would have been better! Because it would have been spot on the money for a better song to play while that scene was playing. But again, like Ben said, it's very up to date, it's very modern, but it's very American. Not the type of things that concern us as two Irish white people.
Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, there is racism here, but it's kind of groundless. we don't have hundreds of years of backstory to
racism.
Yeah. People are just dicks here. We're being a black person.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, 2 generations later, we've adopted sort of racist overtones and undertones.
Do you think we've adopted them from America?
A little bit, yeah. They're like, the language is the same and it creeps over and it informs us that way. Yeah. But there isn't that history. We don't have a history of kind of prejudice there where people have for hundreds of years been undermined and held back. Mm-hmm. And if we do, it was by the hated English.
The hated English.
Towards us.
A little bit?
Yeah. I mean, not me.
Not you personally. You weren't alive.
No. And I've grown up in relative peace and tranquility.
Yes. And if anything, you would have been one of the landed gentry.
Yeah, I was more likely to suffer violence at the hands of my mother than the English. So
the old plastic spoon.
Oh, yeah. Or just the drive somewhere where she'd lash out into the back seat.
Why are we talking about Cloak and Dagger again? Yeah, look, I can nearly call you Ben. Look, Shane, Cloak and Dagger is fine. Good. It's probably better than Runaways, which I think you didn't watch.
That was the one with the mutants.
No, that was The Gifted.
The Gifted.
Runaways.
I watched The Gifted.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's probably about as good as that,
okay.
but a little bit slower. Probably better acted, a little bit better shot. There's an artistry to it.
Good. Sort of an overarching idea of something. Not
just kind of cheap shots of Hawaii with vets like the Inhumans. Or even, there's more... Whose phone was that? Was that my phone?
That sounded like your phone.
Oh, no.
I was under strict instructions to turn my phone off.
Such professionalism. There's an artistry to it. It's shot in a certain way. They seem to be going for a mood, and they're mostly achieving it.
Alright, that would make it better than The Gifted.
Yeah.
The Gifted had pretty people experimenting with mutant powers and, an age-old, how good do you have to be?
Yeah. The Gifted, like you could say about The Gifted that it was a little bit generic.
Yeah, a little bit generic.
But it doesn't have the level of artistry of a Legion, let's say, or of a Twin Peaks. It's not that good.
Okay.
But I think I'd put it up there with the weaker... No, it's probably better than the weaker Netflix series. So it would be better than Defenders, better than Iron Fist.
I mean, to be honest, though, I've been stuck in traffic and it was better than Iron Fist.
I think maybe even better than the bad bits of Luke Cage.
Okay.
Any excitement for Luke Cage season 2?
A little bit.
It's out next week.
Guarded excitement.
Yeah.
Like, Luke Cage is there. Again, we don't have that history. So I've no objection to Luke Cage running around, but I have to take the villains and the setup at face value without understanding a history or appreciating what's going on a deeper level there. So I can't get too excited about Luke Cage as like the people's champion or anything like that.
Isn't that your internet name?
It's my YouTube name.
So that's why you hate Luke Cage.
Yeah.
because he stole your internet name.
But I enjoyed season 1, apart from the Daffy costume of, what's his name?
Cottonmouth?
No, the other
No,
fella.
the other one,
Cottonmouth
Diamondback.
was Diamondback was shit.
That was not a great costume, was it?
No.
And it inexplicably made him stronger too. It was just normal fabric.
Yeah, like if he'd shown up in Iron Man's costume, sound, or
Yeah.
like a knockoff, you know.
Not just a suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I'm guardedly excited too. I think you hit the nail on the head with that choice of words. Shane, you don't really read comics that much.
I've read a comic in the past. I'd consider myself a blue-collar comics reader.
Go on. You read them on the sites.
Every now and again I'll sift. Well, you'll sift through your collection and go, Shane, read this, it's quite good.
Yeah.
So if something has had to rise to that, it probably stands out. It's not an in-universe kind of thing. It's built its own world. It's a self-contained story. So I've read Invincible.
Yeah.
Watchmen. You know, some of the classics.
That's
V for
interesting.
Vendetta, bit of Hellboy, that kind of thing. But nothing with too much of a history.
Very interesting. It's almost like we've planned that. We haven't.
No.
Almost like we have.
It's like I'm in mixed mind
Yeah.
with Tyrone.
What would you... Ooh. Can you see me being lynched?
I hope not.
What would you say to an edgy Harry Potter?
All right, Harry.
Very good. No, I mean, what's your take on an edgy Harry Potter?
Oh, is he in London in it?
Well, it's not Harry Potter, you see. It's wizards, but wizards who have been secretly policing the world from evil monsters and whatnot. But now one of them has decided that she wants to take over from the norms.
That sounds fair enough.
Yeah.
I can't understand why anyone with superpowers wouldn't take over from the norms. Like, out with the old, in with the powerful.
In with the magic. That's what I've done there, Shane, is describe the magic order.
Oh, excellent.
The first...
You hooked me in.
Good. The first comic from Netflix. First comic from Netflix.
Not a movie about a man writing a comic.
No,
a comic.
A comic.
How bizarre.
Although it is Netflix, so what it basically is...
And as a regular Netflix subscriber, can I get that, or is there an additional subscription I'm going to have to pay?
I don't know. I haven't looked into that. It's a physical comic, though.
Oh.
It's in
on
comic
paper
book shops.
and everything?
Yeah, in comic book shops.
Trees have had to die for this.
Yes.
Oh, it better be good.
It's
I'm
all
fond of trees.
It's all right. It's all right. It's very much edgy Harry Potter. They even have the wands look similar. Look, I'll show you when we finish recording. But it's very Harry Potter. The thing that saves it for me is that the villainess has a kind of Catwoman-esque vibe about her, and as you know, that I'll be on board for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit
Be
of a
no
geek.
hassle for Mick to show me his wand when he's finished.
Oh
this.
no! I'm gonna have to edit that out. Right, let's move on. Have you watched anything that you thought was good?
Look, I've been listening to your podcast every week,
Oh,
hoping
no.
that you'd have a chance to talk about the Karate Kid and the YouTube-made series that continues the story. And you haven't.
No.
Every week, a letdown. So now that I'm here...
So you've barged your way in.
Yeah.
You've spiked Ben's drink to make him have a mental episode, and you've barged
put him
your
in
way
a
in.
minimum security asylum.
Yeah.
Where the guards have been warned not to be lulled to sleep by his stories.
Well.
And now I'm going to talk about Karate Kid.
Yeah.
It's good.
It is good, isn't it?
It's very good.
Let's talk about what it means for the genre and genre media. Because it's the first... There's something about it being produced by YouTube and all released on the same day that felt different. Even though Netflix does it all the time.
Yeah, we're used to getting our stuff free from YouTube, and we're used to that stuff being crap.
Yeah, I think
this was good.
That might be what it was. Although, very hard to get here.
Yes.
In Ireland, because we, for some reason, can't get YouTube Red.
Although I think you can just sign into your YouTube account and buy it.
You can sign into your YouTube and buy it episode by episode.
Yeah.
But if you're in America or Australia, it's free as part of your YouTube Red subscription.
Gotcha.
So I think works out cheaper.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was about $2.50 an episode.
Yeah, which is quite expensive.
Yeah.
For a 30-minute episode of a series.
Not even 30 minutes.
And, probably pretty cheap to produce.
Yeah, no big explosions.
No.
They might have had to damage one car repeatedly.
Possibly, yeah. But an old car.
Yeah.
And it only
it was full of memories.
Very good. So the interesting thing was taking a hugely popular thing from the 80s, which for whatever reason didn't continue to now.
Yes.
Well,
it
it
would have
did.
been hard. You had that Hilary Swank thing that was kind of the nail in the coffin.
Well, they had the Kung Fu Kid with Jaden Smith.
Yeah. I mean, it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Give Jaden Smith his dues, but it wasn't. It was a direct remake. There was nothing new to it.
Right.
That really did for me was make me miss the original Karate Kid.
And you're saying that this one wasn't a direct remake?
No, it had echoes.
Oh, very
shadows
good.
And echoes.
And thematic similarities.
Thematic similarities.
All right, and now
role reversals and everything.
You're gradually becoming Ben.
Oh.
I'm going to combine your names into one and call you Bane. Oh no, that's too cool.
Yeah, I'm alright with Bane.
Shen. Sound like an old Chinese man.
I would teach a young white child kung fu.
My favourite thing about it was how it kind of messed with our expectations of what was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, it messed with the whole notion of storytelling.
Go on, Bane.
Johnny Lawrence was there, and we saw him as the villain at the end of Karate Kid.
Right.
But through Johnny Lawrence's eyes, he was just,
he was the victim.
Yeah.
And
this out-of-towner came in and started chatting up his girl who he was having some troubles with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how would you like it if you were going through some troubles with your lady and some guy just came in and started putting the moves on her? You'd be alright with it probably, but...
Get me in trouble as well now. This is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
The thing was that idea that... What's the... Daniel. That idea that Daniel...
It's been floating around a while.
Yes.
Most famously, I'd say, with How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, did they say it?
But yes, Barney Stinson was a huge fan of The Karate Kid, but viewed Johnny Lawrence as The Karate Kid.
Really?
And in one of the episodes got to meet him.
Oh.
And they played a prank on him.
Go
they
on.
had this clown follow him around for like a stag party or something.
The actor who plays Johnny Lawrence?
Yes.
So he played himself in the sitcom How I Met Your Mother?
Yes.
Right.
So Johnny Lawrence is dressed up
William
as
Zapka?
the clown. Yes. And he goes around, and then they introduce him to Ralph Macchio. And he's like, here's the Karate Kid. You love that movie. And Barney Stinson's character, the Barney Stinson character, throws a bit of a strop.
Right.
It's like, that's not the Karate Kid. It was William Zapka or whatever his name is.
Right.
Frank Zappa. And then the clown disrobes, and there's Johnny Lawrence.
Whoa!
Yeah, great.
So the two of them were in that episode together. Yeah. That has to have some effect. That has to have had some effect on getting this series made.
Yeah, I mean, you would imagine so.
Yeah.
They were in a room going, wouldn't it be nice to be famous again?
Yeah, I remember being famous. Being famous was great, wasn't it?
Quite old now.
Yeah.
We're not going to make it in anything else.
Let's go into spoilers because it's been on. It's long come and gone.
Yeah.
The finale. Speaking of finales, as we did with Legion, the finale was
spectacular.
Very, very
Probably
good.
not as life changing as those 3 minutes. But yeah, pretty good. I think Johnny Lawrence's whole demeanour.
Yeah.
Like he wants to rail against the, PC becomers type genre.
Johnny Lawrence would hate Ben.
He would.
Yeah.
Me and Johnny Lawrence would get along so well.
Actually, watching Johnny Lawrence teaching those classes was like watching a documentary about my life. I don't think he insulted anyone in a way that I haven't insulted someone in a class to some degree. But just watching his face falling as he realised that he'd taken a nice kid and turned him into the bad guy.
Yeah.
When watching him realise that.
And that was like left right to the last minute. There's an impassioned speech from some dickhead, and Johnny Lawrence turns to his protege and goes, "Kick that pansy in the face."
Yeah.
I've never laughed. I had to go back a couple of minutes to see what happened after I stopped laughing.
Oh, very good.
It was one of those shows that was brilliant. I've ruined it on anyone who hasn't seen it, but
that's what podcasts are for.
Yeah.
If you're listening to a podcast about something that was aired 8 weeks ago.
If you're listening to a podcast about media instead of consuming that media, I mean, honestly.
Yeah, you deserve to have things spoiled.
Yeah.
This is for people who've already seen things and now they're stuck in their car in traffic.
And they want their opinions reinforced or maybe lightly challenged.
Very lightly.
Yeah, because you're in traffic and everything could go sideways.
What did you think about the stinger?
Yeah. Genuinely thought he was dead.
Yeah, we'll explain
the stinger.
it. Let's explain it. At the end, Johnny Lawrence's old master...
Sensei William Kreese.
Sensei Kreese?
What was his first name?
I can't remember.
Kreese.
I don't know if they ever...
William? No.
If they ever...
Bobby? No.
Doesn't matter.
No, we just sit
Men
here
misremembering things. He comes back and looks like he's going to attempt to take over Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I mean, which is weird because you look at it and it's like, oh no, here's a big bad villain.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a guy walking into a small business owner's place.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you could just call the police and get them to remove him, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
Like, I really hope they don't go down the road of dark machinations and...
But this series exists in a world where, for some reason, a local karate tournament has a budget to produce that gets that many attendees.
Yeah. That was addressed, though. I mean, Ralph Macchio's wife's character talks about it. It's like karate used to be like football is in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, around here there was the... So yeah, it used to have that, and hey, they had the shiny blue mats this time round.
With the gold fist.
Yeah.
Shane, are there any other series that you would like to see brought back in a similar way?
I have a massive hankering for some sort of Highlander.
Oh.
We've discussed this before.
Yeah, we have. If only we had a podcast where we discussed reviving TV shows and things like that.
Could. I mean, and like instead of flashbacks, I think each season would jump from a period in history to the next with an overriding villain that is then the final movie.
Maybe a couple of flash forwards to the modern day.
Maybe.
Small, short ones. But like
I would do those maybe as cold openings. Like cold opening, flash forward, and then your episode may or may not reveal why that was there.
Probably not. Because one of the biggest kind of problems with the original Highlander series was always the contrivance of the exact same thing happened to him 400 years ago.
It's ridiculous.
And whichever lesson he learned then will help him defeat the gimmicky immortal of the week this week.
Yeah, that was poor.
I'd forgotten we used to talk about that.
Oh, we used to wax lyrical
we should
well
bring
into
that
the
back.
night.
We should bring it back. I'm surprised it hasn't happened.
Yeah, I mean, we did put 2 or 3 internet posts up. I really thought that'd do it.
So, let's say one series, let's say a tight 8 episodes.
Yeah.
The first series would be...
First series is...
Oldie Time Scotland.
Yeah, halfway through that, he gets killed, becomes immortal, deals with that, gets hoofed out of the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hold on. It doesn't even have to be Oldie Time Scotland because it doesn't have to... Oh, well, it kind of Highlander. It's in the name, doesn't it?
Unless he owns some sort of Highlander cow.
Yeah, but they presumably didn't exist in ancient Rome.
Ah, they would have.
Like, you could do an ancient Rome season. Like, as a kind of introduce the villain.
You could.
Yeah.
Although, like Spartacus, I'd prefer if, our star had to take a season off for... Well, not I'd prefer, but...
Well, he died, Shane.
I know.
So insensitive.
But Gods of the Arena rose out of Spartacus needing to take a season off.
Yeah, and that was very good.
So if we established Highlander and then had another season or a spin-off season for our villain, that'd be better.
Let's save this for another podcast. Yeah. This is we could make something out of this. Anyway, any others? Any others that you'd like to see brought back?
Ooh, don't think so. I mean, a lot of the stuff is gold because it's in the past. Yeah,
and a lot of the stuff you wouldn't have never said Karate Kid anyway.
No,
this came
There's
out of
some
nowhere.
Stuff I'd prefer people never touched again. Like just left it.
Top Gun is coming.
Yeah, Top Gun always felt like it was set up for a sequel.
Yeah, not a sequel 30 years later with old men though.
No, but when the money's right.
Shane, let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, so we planned a few weeks ago, Ben and I, to talk about the lasting influence of some science fiction classics. Because people like when we wax lyrical about literature. Literally waxing lyrical, that's what we call this section.
If only you had a turntable.
Yeah, and the ability to say that smoothly.
Yeah, work on it.
We were going to talk about the book series Dune. But then it turns out that Ben didn't know anything about it.
That's because Ben's too young.
It's probably also why he knows nothing about the Karate Kid.
Does he not?
Oh. Doesn't care for the Karate Kid.
Oh, if he were here, I'd karate chop him.
Might be why he's not here. Shane, I nearly called you Ben again. Bane, your internet handle Bane. What even is Dune?
Dune is a book.
Yes.
It is based around Leo, what's his name? Atreides? Paul Atreides.
Paul, yes.
He is the son of Duke Leto. Duke Leto is handed control of Arrakis, a planet that is the most important planet in the known universe. It produces the spice, the melange.
Even more important than America.
Yes.
Wow.
It's a barren planet, inhospitable,
Right.
cruel.
Yeah.
They're people tough.
Earth, down to earth characters.
Leto is given control of this because the Emperor, the Padisha Emperor, believes that Leto is becoming too powerful.
Oh, classic.
He has gathered too many allies in the Landsraad, which is like a loose monarchistic parliamenty type thing.
Okay.
So he conspires with the Harkonnens, who are just dicks.
Right. Very fat as well, I think.
Just the Baron. Phaedrota is svelte.
Oh, like
the
Steam.
Baron. Yeah, the Baron is kind of into him a bit. It's kind of creepy.
Ugh.
There's tones. The Baron is so fat that he has like little suspensor things that kind of hover him around, and he jiggles and walks with a weird.
Like Mojo from the X-Men.
And the Baron is also a bit of a deviant. At one point, they tried to assassinate him by implanting hypodermic spikes beneath the skin of some sort of slave boy they're sending in to satisfy him.
Interesting, though, isn't it? Though that as Ben and I talked about the other week, they show he's a bad egg by making him a bit gay.
Well, a bit pedo-y.
A pedo gay.
Does it matter your orientation once you've gone pedo?
Well, he's the only character in it who's gay, and he's also the worst.
He's the only, aside from Paul, he's the only one we know anything about their sexuality. No one else really has a relationship. Gurney Halleck's wife was killed.
Yeah, Gurney becomes a kind of love interest for Paul's sister much later down the line, kind of. We're getting very vague there.
Yeah.
Go on, anyway, sorry for that.
Anyway, so yeah, Duke Leto Atreides is put in charge of this planet, but it's a trap.
It's a trap!
The Baron Harkonnen and the Emperor are conspiring against him. Mm-hmm. The Emperor's troops, who are the baddest asses in the galaxy, are going to attack, but in Harkonnen livery. So that'll make it all right somehow.
A false flag operation.
Yeah. And that'll kill off the Atreides, and the Baron will be back in charge of Arrakis, and that'll be that.
And the Emperor will have subtly dealt with the challenge to his power.
But
right,
Paul Atreides is a special young gentleman.
Oh.
His mother is part of this kind of weird universe-shaping religion type nunnery.
Yeah.
The Bene Gesserit.
Right.
They have this goal of producing the Kwisatz Haderach, who can look back in time and see both the genetic memories of his male ancestors and female ancestors.
Oh.
Whereas they are a nunnery of sorts, they can only look back and see the memories of the female ancestors.
Right.
Which can be limiting when you're... I'm not entirely sure what they're aiming at.
Right.
It's never properly explained.
Okay.
Or it is, and I forgot.
Podcast gold.
Yeah. So the Harkonnens attack, but Paul escapes. And then he goes and he befriends a rake of these Fremen, the locals on Arrakis, who have been regarded by the Harkonnens as rabble. You know, just impoverished, not really doing a lot. The Harkonnens hunt them for sport. But what's revealed then is that's only killing the weakest of them.
Oh, very good.
The Fremen are remarkably resourceful. They are a pure warrior people. They have suffered 100 years of Harkonnen rule on the toughest planet in the galaxy.
Yeah.
And now they're practically an invincible fighting force.
Right.
So Paul hangs out with those for 15 or 20 years, and then he takes on the entire might of the Emperor. And yeah, that's the story of Dune.
That's the story of Dune.
Tied into that, then you've got themes of ecology.
Oh, themes!
Yeah, trying to transform a desert planet into something else.
Was this the first ever book to do with transforming a desert planet into something else?
Yes.
Okay, you're willing to state that categorically.
Why not?
Okay, good.
It's the first ever book I read dealing with transforming a desert planet.
Here.
Oh, there it is. Does it say on the front of it, first ever book to deal with? No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It says 50th anniversary edition.
I think it is, though. I think it's one of the first ever books. Because
what I like about it
yes,
is it's one of those kind of sci-fi light where basically the role of technology is to make sure that you can't use too much more technology.
Right.
So you'll have a sword fight.
Yeah.
I enjoy a sword fight in a book.
A soft science fiction is what science fiction fans usually call it. That's true. Also, it's set so far in the future that the people are humans, but they're so far in the future that it has nothing to do with Earth. I don't think Earth is even mentioned.
No, for a long time I thought maybe Arrakis was going to turn out to be Earth, but it doesn't matter, and they've long since forgotten it.
Yeah, And very little of our culture remains.
No.
So, we were talking, the main point of this was going to be how it influenced other classic science fiction. In a lot of ways, that is quite similar to Star Wars.
Go on.
Because in Star Wars it happened a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, but it's still inexplicably full of humans.
And irritating side characters.
Irritating side characters.
There's no irritating side characters in Dune. For anyone who's planning on reading it,
yes,
and like me doesn't really like Star Wars, don't be put off by mixed Star Wars now.
Well, I'm saying that Dune influenced Star Wars, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars came out a lot later. Also, if you remember, Shane, Star Wars, take a look at the cover of this book here. You'll remember that Star Wars starts on a desert planet with twin moons.
Ooh.
Twin suns, though, isn't it?
I don't know.
And also, Shane, you remember in Star Wars that Luke is a moisture farmer.
He is.
And tell us about how that's relevant.
Keynes is the planetologist working on the planet Arrakis, and his goal is to make Arrakis into a verdant garden planet.
Right.
To farm moisture, to store it. Mm-hmm. The entire way of Fremen life, from birth to death, is all about reclaiming moisture and storing it. It's the wealth of the planet. So all the technology, one of the ways that the Fremen are led to believe that Paul is their messiah is that he fits on his still suit designed to stop the escape of moisture from the body perfectly, wears a desert fashion.
Oh.
They grow tiny plants, like tiny grasses, to try and bind the soil together. They have all this technology that's dedicated towards changing this planet on a huge planetary scale. And I suppose George Lucas stole that a little.
A little.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the whole idea of water scarcity and stuff doesn't play a big part in Star Wars.
No.
Just the life on Tatooine.
Yes. Possibly going to become more relevant to life on Earth in certain forms.
Ooh, prescient, maybe.
Desalination, here we come.
Also, you'll remember from Star Wars, for example, or Warhammer, Shane, one of your favourites, people are always going up and stabbing each other despite living in a very technologically advanced future.
Yeah, you can't beat a good stabbing.
Yeah.
You want somebody to know you really don't like them, you just cannot beat stabbing.
What's the justification for stabbing people in the book Dune?
If you fire your super cool laser gun at somebody and they've got their shield turned on, a personal electronic shield, it'll explode with the might of a nuclear bomb.
Possibly.
Yeah, maybe, or it might not.
Yeah.
But you don't want to take that chance.
Yeah. So that idea, I suppose a lot of these stories are feudal knights and barons and lords stories transposed into space.
Yes.
Dune, certainly.
Definitely.
Star Wars in many ways, although it's kind of more a western than a feudal story.
Order. Yeah, they do ride in. They don't hang around. It's not too much.
And Warhammer, as you know, it's all about lords and...
Just to be clear, the most I know about Warhammer is Mick paints tiny figures.
Yeah.
And once gave out to me when I moved those tiny figures.
You put them all over the house.
Yeah. It's a world filled with rage.
I forgot about that. Oh, I was so angry that day. It was mostly Dave's fault, though. What are we talking about? Why they go up and stab each other? Because in, let's say, Star Wars, they never really justify why someone would stab someone with a lightsaber instead of using a cool laser gun.
Yeah, and I mean, they have laser guns. It's just lightsabers seem to be able to bat away the laser bolts.
Yeah. Whereas in Dune, he what's his name again? L. Ron Hubbard? Frank Herbert, that's the one. That was a joke. I can see it. It's written there. I'm not that stupid. It was a joke. He goes to not great pains, but some lengths to kind of justify the need for hand-to-hand combat in this universe.
Yes, and I think the hand-to-hand combat is important in tying in with the role of the Bene Gesserit and establishing. It's that kind of world where you can challenge the Emperor's best fighter, and the Emperor's like, all right, you beat that one lad. Yeah. Here's the keys to the Empire.
You're the Emperor now.
For some reason.
Yeah. Shane, I'm going to tell you a little story, and I'd like you to tell me if you think this is from Dune or from something else. So, the Emperor of Mankind has lived for thousands of years because he's the most psychically powerful human who's ever existed. And he creates a legion of super soldiers to enforce his will throughout the galaxy.
That's not from Dune.
Well, it kind of is from Dune.
Yeah, but he hasn't lived for thousands of years.
No, not Paul. Well, I'm actually talking about Dune. What are the follow-ups called?
There was loads of them. God, Emperor of Dune, Children of Dune,
Chapter House
Dune,
Messiah.
It actually, after about 2 books, they were like, look, we're done with the Atreides. Duncan Idaho is the main character now.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan Idaho, who died in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers. I know, 50 years old. So Duncan Idaho just kept getting brought back and relearning stuff, and then he can sort of see back in his genetic cloned memory, and it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And you've got the Honored Martyrs, and they're another threat, but they're facing an even bigger... Yeah, it got kind of crap.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I have read Dune,
Good.
Messiah, and Children of Dune, and I think maybe some of the 4th one. And Paul is dead.
Long since
dead. And his son, Leto
and his daughter?
No,
her daughter?
Aaliyah. No.
Leto becomes some sort of god emperor.
Leto becomes the god emperor.
Yeah. He becomes a sandworm.
He merges with the last sand trout to become the last sandworm.
Yeah.
And it gives him the most... He's the most psychically powerful human who's ever lived. Although he's not really that human. And the story kind of skips forward 5,000 years into the future. So
where he keeps bringing back his friend Duncan Idaho.
Yeah, he keeps bringing him back because he was played by Patrick Stewart in that one film.
That was the hope that Patrick Stewart...
It's not Duncan Idaho.
No,
it's Gurney Halleck.
Yeah. Well, Duncan Idaho is the hero, but Patrick Stewart played Gurney Halleck.
Who played Duncan Idaho?
Some guy. Like, he died in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's really not important in the movie.
Head injury.
Yeah.
He looked enough like Kyle MacLachlan that it didn't really matter.
Yeah. What did you think of the... Oh, anyway, yeah, it's also... That's largely... A lot of the universe building of Warhammer comes directly from Dune.
Oh.
This idea of a mostly immortal emperor who's kind of detached from humanity by his psychic powers. And in the original Warhammer universe, the Space Marines, who you'll be familiar with at least, they were created from penal legions, like the Emperor's Sardaukar, and they're his terrifying shock troops. But, it diverged over the course of 40 years of existence for both of them. It's not much like Dune anymore. But also, hand-to-hand combat. One thing about Dune, though, no aliens.
No. You've got the ship navigators. They're freaky, but they're not
freaky,
aliens.
But they're humans at heart.
At heart? Do they even have hearts anymore? There's no emotion in ship navigation. It's pure maths.
Another Warhammer link. Yeah, in Warhammer, you need navigators to travel in space, and they have to be psychic and they have to be human mutants.
Oh, interesting.
It's amazing how influential Dune has been.
I didn't realise.
Good. Well, welcome to the podcast. How
informative this podcast has been.
Have you ever heard of the comic series The Meta Barons?
No. Tell me about it.
The Meta
Would
Barons.
a blue-collar comic reader like myself enjoy it?
I think you probably would. It's a European comic.
Is it self-contained? Does it have an end?
Yes.
Good.
It's a European comic, and it came about because the writer and artist were working on a Dune movie. It was going to have Salvador Dali as the Emperor.
Oh God, that sounds terrible.
I know. It would have been insane. It probably the only thing in the world which could have existed which would have been more insane than the David Lynch version of something.
That said, when you try and play Dune straight, you end up with that sci-fi series 3-parter thing, and that was just a bit meh.
Was that called Children of Dune?
No, I think they had like a follow-up. They had Dune and then Children of Dune. For some reason, they managed to get like greenlit on a second season.
All right. But Meta Barons came about because the writer, he was planning to make a movie, and the movie fell through for budget reasons and backing, and these things fall through. But he had all of these designs and ideas and stuff, and he changed them into a comic, and it's a multi-generational space opera spanning a vast period of time about people who can develop powers by introspection and...
Wow, that's a much better analysis than my rambling introduction to the book that we were...
But if you like Dune, you'd probably like it.
Okay.
And very good art style. I think I have one around. I'll give you a lend of it. Any things you would recommend which someone who has never read Dune, and they pick up Dune, and they read Dune, and they like Dune, and then they pick up Dune Messiah, and they go, oh, there's a lot of politicking in this.
Yeah.
And then they pick up Children of Dune, and they go, his son's a space worm now? Anything that you would recommend for someone who liked Dune but might have lost interest in the sequels? And I realise I've just sprung this on you, so if you need, I'll edit out some thinking time on
I'll put in like the countdown clock.
Yeah. Did it. Do.
No idea.
Starship Troopers?
No.
Why not?
It's smaller.
Right.
I would say Starship Troopers would be a better follow-up to something like an Animal Farm or something like that.
Okay.
It looks at, like, Starship Troopers looks more at the state hasn't managed to impose its will. It's still, technically speaking, a democracy, but they bounce from war to war, and every time they switch villain or switch opponent, they just kind of ignore the fact that they were at war with the other side up to this. The TV or the movie, a brilliant satire on war and statehood and notions of kind of like a militaristic future.
And the Nazis.
The book, equally brilliant kind of assessment of libertarianism and where you need to stand as part of a society, your responsibilities towards it, its responsibilities towards you, decision making, that kind of thing. I wouldn't have said a great Dune. Frank Herbert, or not Frank Herbert, what's his name? Robert Heinlein. Dealt more with personal stories that kind of happened in a universe that was there, but like, no. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, or I want to say Children of a Lesser God, but that's not a Robert Heinlein story.
Right.
None of them. No,
nothing.
No, disagree with your conjecture.
So if you like Dune but you didn't like the follow-ups, just stop reading books.
Yeah, and if you'd like to find a reason to kill yourself, go read the ones written by his son and Kevin J. Anderson.
Are you?
They're atrocious.
You're one of the people who doesn't like when books are followed up by the writer's son.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with it when Tolkien's son wrote some more incomprehensible lore backing up the original trilogy.
Yeah,
but like, there are things mentioned, and every now and again it's nice for a thing just to hang there. Something like in Dune where they fought the machines. It's the Butlerian Jihad.
One of my favourite phrases in all of science fiction.
It happened 1,000 years ago or something like that.
That happened in Warhammer as well.
And they beat the machines, and it's just left hang there. No history is delved into. It's just there's laws have come out from it. They're followed now with almost religious fervour that you can't make a machine in the shape of a man. That didn't need to be gone into. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
But when the money's right,
they'll do it.
Yeah.
And is that the story of one of the books by his son?
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's called the Butlerian Jihad.
Oh no, that's so on the nose.
Yeah, it's so crap.
That's a big part.
And it deals with a conflict between a Harkonnen ancestor and an Atreides ancestor.
Oh no.
They might as well have been fucking neighbours.
And do we find out how Han Solo got his gun?
We probably do. And how he copyrighted it.
And how he met Chewie. Alright, so no recommendations. No. What's your favourite song inspired by Dune?
Oh, that Fatboy Slim one.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I only realised that,
walk
as you know,
rhythm.
If you walk without rhythm, then you won't attract the worm.
I spelled rhythm differently there.
Yeah, you did. You pronounced it rhythm. If you walk without rhythm, then you won't attract the worm. I only realised a few months ago. You remember, because I texted you excitedly. I went, Fatboy Slim's song is about Dune!
Arguably the most important influence it's had.
Possibly, yeah. Because, I mean, everybody knows that song.
Yeah, there was a certain point in your life where you could have been in a club talking to someone, a young one, and gone, do you like this song?
Yeah.
Have you read the work by Frank Herbert? And completely shot yourself down.
Yeah, that would have been good, wouldn't it? Okay, let's wrap it up there, Shane. Ben usually does this bit, but I suppose I'll do it.
Okay, if Ben has escaped from the asylum, he'll be back next week.
Yeah, he probably will. He's coming back to Ireland, as you know. So we'll be in the non-digital tiny room shortly. So tell us... Oh no, this is really hard. I usually put so much pressure on Ben. Tell us what's your favourite work of science fiction or fantasy that was influenced by Dune. Or even if you have some other classic works that influenced others that you might like to point out to us that we could talk about in the future.
What's that book I read?
I don't know. Is that
can't remember it now.
Podcast Gold.
Podcast Goals. More Countdown Clock. influenced Star Wars. Remember I used to keep texting you the racist bits in it?
Oh, the one...
Martian...
No, the
John Carter of Mars.
John Carter of Mars.
Yes.
Although that did get a bad film.
Yeah, it deserves a better film. It's excellent.
Yeah.
It's as pulpy as Conan, but interesting, speculative future stuff. Has themes of ecology.
Oh, and predates Dune.
Yeah, because I mean you're on Mars and Mars is a dying planet. So they're trying to do things and it's people scratching out a living.
Yeah. There you go, there's a recommendation.
John Carter of Mars, read it all. The only problem is the people that he fights, they're all given colour codes.
Yeah, the blues and the blacks and the browns.
And the yellows. And they're all sort of worse than each other.
Right, give us an email about that. If you have any ideas for 80s classics that you'd like to see brought back in the vein of Cobra Kai, you can let us know. We'd love to hear about that too.
Give them a treatment.
Give us a treatment. Yeah, we're gonna get working on that.
Use the might of the podcast to get that thing green lit.
Yes, we'll make a Highlander pitch in the next couple of weeks. So you can contact us, leave a message down below in the comments, or you can listen on SoundCloud. What's it called? SoundCloud Michael and Benjamin's podcast. That sounds about right.
I just listen on YouTube.
We're on Instagram at Michael and Benjamin's podcast, and we're on Twitter at Ben and Mick. Mick and Ben, at Mick and Ben. This is hard. We're on Gmail at michaelandbenjaminspodcast at gmail.com. We have never received a single email. We get the occasional
Let's
Twitter.
make it rain.
Make those emails rain, people. Okay, thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.